This is a free sample of the book, Never Ghosted Again, The Art of Being Irresistible, by Cairo, Copeland. The first half of this book is posted right here on YouTube, free for everyone to listen to. If you like this content and want to hear or read the rest, or want to listen to it free of ads, visit reinventideal.com/ghosted. The book is available on Kindle, paperback, and Audible at reinventideal.com/ghosted. Chapter 8. Emotional Invincibility, Responsibility for His Emotions. There is a skill that once possessed will propel you through shitty jobs to an amazing, prestigious career that is the envy of your peers. This skill turns a timid prospector into a successful salesman with a spine of steel. This skill will compel the shy, inexperienced nerd to power through countless rejections and failures without sparing a moment to sulk and emerge on his way to becoming irresistible with getting the women he wants. This is the skill of emotional intelligence. Not taught in schools, but desperately needed, this is what will allow you to overcome the great adversity you will face, not just from others, but also from yourself. Emotional intelligence may be defined as the owner's manual for the human mind, or more jokingly referred to as the study of why smart people do stupid shit. It is the ability to overpower emotions with rational thinking rather than let them overpower you. Every horrific atrocity ever committed, from isolated domestic abuse to school shootings making the national news, are the result of immature emotional outbursts. Each of the perpetrators, in all cases, lack the ability to regulate and analyze their emotions. These outbursts can even be as mild as shouting back at a customer service representative over the phone when they give you bad news, mistreating a server at a restaurant, or kicking over a coffee table when your team loses. And these outbursts, even in the mildest form, are an immense turn-off to women. Case in point, Anna was going on a road trip with a guy to a sports event several miles away, during which the car broke down, and in his outrage at the inconvenience, he took his sunglasses off his head and slammed them down on his knee, breaking them in half. Anna said she was not only incredibly repelled by his behavior, but also in fear for her safety around him. That is what makes this a skill you need to master. On the flip side, Whitney was traveling to see her man, Ethan. They had a nice dinner and a few laughs together, even a couple makeout sessions. While Ethan was hoping for much more, he didn't want to push his luck. Whitney took off back to her city that was 2 hours away, but halfway down the road her car broke down. She phoned him up in a panic, spewing emotions out like a fire hose on the loose. Why is this happening to me? I can't afford this. I've had enough shit happen to me this week. But Ethan remained cool, calm, and collected. He told her he'd be there as soon as possible to check it out. When he got there, he retained his composure, even though she was a mess. He popped the hood and checked the dipstick, made the determination that the car just needed oil, and drove off to get some. Whitney was still in emotional disarray, but he kept control. Many times he wanted to tell her to get a grip or to just shut up, but he kept those thoughts to himself. After they had filled the engine with oil, the car started running again. He told her they should let it rest a while, and she proceeded to make out with him more and declared him her hero. She even flat out told him how impressed she was with his composure and that it was turning her on. While your car may not break down on a date, you will face great adversity in your pursuit of the woman of your dreams. Spoken from those with experience, you will be disrespected more than you have ever been in your life. There will be times where you'll be led to believe that your feelings are of no concern to anyone. There will be moments when suicide seems like a more merciful path than continuing to push toward the goal. Taking inventory, control, and ultimately responsibility for your emotions is what will get you through this. Taking responsibility for your emotions is realizing that it is not other people who make you feel a certain way. The actions of others have only the power you allow it to have. Emotions are not diseases that plague you down like the flu, for which nothing but bad-tasting medicine and exile from the world can heal. Emotions are merely a collection of influential thoughts that can be overpowered by other influential thoughts. And yes, they can be overpowered. The trick is asking yourself during emotional turmoil, are these emotions really necessary? This does not mean masking your emotions or hiding how you truly feel. In an earlier chapter, you were told to hide your pain from her. It's really a matter of how you choose to express that pain. If you can express it in a way that does not indicate that you are in pain, there's nothing unattractive about expressing it. The irresistible man is always upfront with his feelings, and more so with what he truly wants. But he expresses them in a mature way. He states his intentions to a woman without fear, nor any indication that he feels he should be fearful to do so. He tells her that he wants her, and acts as if there is nothing wrong or out of line with saying so. It's a perfectly routine interaction for him. He has control of his emotions when what he wants is denied, never blaming the woman or retaliating the rejection with insults. A rejection doesn't shatter him, but rather the rejecting words shatter upon him like glass against a stone wall, leaving no sign of impact. The first stop in emotional intelligence is controlling your anger. In this pursuit of women, you will be made angry often. They will flake, ghost, and reject you left and right. It'll be very tempting to give in to your rage and direct it at them, the world, and yourself. Thus, wrapping the reins around your anger is a vital first step. What is the source of your anger? When a girl rejects you, or a promising date flakes on you, or a girl you really thought you connected with ghosts on you, what is really happening here? Your mind had hopes and expectations, but reality is now conflicting with those. The source of all anger and sadness is the discrepancy between our preferences, our desires, and our reality. These negative emotions will cause closed-off posture, folding within yourself, even going into the fetal position. It's the body's reaction to the situation and defense mechanism to protect you physically from the external world that is hurting you emotionally. Try to notice this next time your feelings are hurt. Look at how your posture changes. No matter how legit the reason, you have nothing to gain by feeling down and depressed. The secret, then, is to accept reality. When the negative emotions arise, you must ask yourself, who am I to set expectations of other people? I have my preferences for sure, of how life should be, and how other people should behave. But is it really productive or healthy to expect anyone, let alone everyone, to fall in line with these personal preferences? And as you are asking these questions of yourself, hold your body in an open posture, taking up lots of space. Look at the way Superman stands, and stand in that exact same way. This stance actually relieves stress and boosts testosterone on a molecular level. Fighting the physical symptoms of being hurt will reduce the feelings associated with the hurt. When you're physically hurt, like a cut or a scrape, closing in on the wound can enhance the pain. Touching the scar, even in a nursing manner, will cause you to wince. The body is closed in while doing this, already prepared for pain. Thus the mind magnifies the pain to a greater level than it otherwise would have felt had you ignored the wound. You may have experienced this once, where you discover a wound you don't remember receiving, but it has been there for some time, so it no longer hurts. Throughout any event in your life, two little pieces of it form its entire composition, the event by itself and your interpretation of it. For the last piece, you get a choice. Interpret the event as something awful and unacceptable, or accept the new reality by realizing that you're bigger than whatever problem is dominating the forefront of this reality. The fact of the matter is that if life takes a shit on you, it just takes a shit on you. The emotions expressed as a result of it do not change it, but you have the choice to say how bad that shit stinks. Understanding that what you think about the most and what you put more focus into will expand and appear greater in your head. Thus, the problem can appear to be overpowering and bigger than you. But the irresistible man does not allow this to occur, and remains bigger than all his problems. It's one tough pill to swallow at first because we're conditioned to view failure as a fundamentally bad thing from grade 1. If you came home from school with an F grade on your test, you'd likely be in trouble at both school and home. As of today, school's out, and nothing is inherently bad unless you allow it to be so. Now, Society's imperatives and cultural conditioning stretch their slivering tentacles back into the picture as they push a winner's mentality. This agreement peddles the false idea that once a victory of some sort is achieved, or a goal is attained, everything under the sun will somehow be better. This is bullshit, because the goalpost keeps moving further away. Even if you reach one, you notice another one farther away. Once you slept with an 8 after a life of 5s, the 8 is now your minimum standard and nothing less will do. To settle for anything less will trigger a fear that you're missing out, and the fear of missing out is the cause of so much anxiety. The fear of missing out is often triggered by desire, which causes the most pain. It tricks you into thinking you need to materialize it to be happy. Constant musing of the desire is a continuous reminder of the thing you do not yet possess, and feeling miserable now feels justified. The only way to fight this is to focus on what you already have and feel grateful for it. Gratitude. There is one thing you can start doing right now that will improve your life right away. This is one human trait that will make a person happier right off the bat without much effort. It will inspire a person to be more honest, more generous, more kind, and everything that is good, without making them sit through a single sermon on morals. It is also the cure to the pain that is inflicted on us when we lack what we desire. That thing is gratitude. There is something magical about having a realization of the longing you'd experience for so many of the things you already have if you were to lose them. It's almost like a new form of humility, to say, I've been blessed a lot already. I'm big enough now to take a few shots. This is how the author can say there isn't a single happy person on earth that is ungrateful, and there isn't a single good person on earth that is ungrateful. Think of this. If a person is grateful, what reason do they have to do evil acts? Only those who are ungrateful are good at coming up with justifications for their sins. They may feel entitled to something and have not received it, thus use that as justification for their bad deeds. This goes for feeling victimized by life while ignoring the blessings of it. It's no coincidence that ungratefulness is always accompanied by anger. I didn't get my way and now I'm pissed. The person uttering this surely hasn't taken a second look for the things they have gotten previously. This plays into a very powerful tool that can be used to jumpstart your gratitude: negative visualization. In order to put this tool to use, first take inventory of all the good things you do have in your life. Perhaps it's your job, your relationship with your parents, your car, or your own place. Now picture your life without it. Imagine you were to get fired, lose your parents, wreck your car, or your house burns down. Sure, the beautiful women you see everywhere are a reminder of the fact that you don't have one of your own, and that highlights a particular pain you feel because you desire one. Salt is shoved in the wound when these aforementioned women reject you. But realizing how lucky you are to even have the eyesight to see them makes wondering what women will do to you pretty trivial. Another positive side effect of negative visualization: doing it will even prepare you to better handle it if it happens. You've already thought about how you would feel if you lost your car. You've anticipated the emotions. Now your emotional outburst, if you have one at all, is less intense than it would be if it were a completely unanticipated shock. The same goes for when you're being dumped by a girlfriend. While it may still hurt, you've had a premonition of how you'd feel and can now feel it on a less intense scale, like a scary scene in a horror movie that you already saw before in the trailer. It has less of an effect when you see it in life like it does when you see the same scene in the feature film. Whatever her reason is for dumping you, she will certainly be intrigued by how well you're handling it. Many practitioners of gratitude prefer to express it in the morning, before the day kicks off, so they have the day begin on a positive note. They may write about it in a gratitude journal or get down by the side of their bed to offer up a thankful prayer to the heavens. However you do it, just see to it that you do it. It is also important to be grateful spontaneously throughout the day as well, particularly in those difficult moments when a harsh reality is hitting you, trying to get you into that closed body posture. In moments like these, the weapon of gratitude wields the most power. Don't just accept reality, be thankful for it. Disempower shitty circumstances by being thankful for them. Here's an example. When you have an encounter or an interaction with an unpleasant person or a total asshole, Instead of getting triggered into a pissing contest with him, look up towards the heavens and exclaim, "Universe, I thank thee for giving me this wonderful teacher of how I should not behave. I know I will be a much more likable person after today because I won't be like this person." If even half the world population had that reaction to every asshole in the world would eventually have a lot less assholes and even be void of them. The pursuit of positive experiences is by itself a negative experience, because within it you are working hard to attain something you lack. The focus is all on what you lack. Thus the converse is also true. The endurance through negative experience is by itself a positive one, because you can only go up from it. Things are never going to be perfect, and if they were, life would be pretty boring with nothing to do. If one can learn to enjoy the journey as if the destination was already reached, that person can still be happy even if the destination is disappointing. Focus more on making friends and memories along the yellow brick road rather than on getting to Emerald City, because who knows, the wizard there could be a fraud. Stoicism. Negative visualization to preempt negative emotions or reduce their intensity is a practice of the Stoics. They have a practice where they attempt to experience negative emotions before their cause actually comes to fruition. While seeking the company of women, this is another powerful tool to carry in your belt. Before you go out to meet such women, do the approaches and attempt the closes, bake into your expectations what could go wrong and how you will feel about them. The practice not only allows you to be less distraught when things don't go as hoped, but also allows you to be more delighted by it when they do. Pleasant surprises become far more pleasant. When negative experiences are taken into consideration before they occur, the bar is set at an initial low. Thus, you will feel relieved from the pressure and stress from the expectations. The Stoics call this practice expectations management, and it is recommended here because it will allow you to take on a more effortless acceptance of reality. This is not to be confused with worrying, but rather wargaming. And on the bright side, things will seldomly go as poorly as you may anticipate them to. Case in point, Jonah had an upcoming date with Christina. She was a Spanish girl, which was his favorite type. The date was going to be a beach day, and he was thriving with excitement for the good time he expected it would be. He'd get to see her beautiful body in a bikini like he'd been imagining for days. And better yet, he'd get to show off to her how good he looks shirtless, because he's been a regular gym goer for years, chiseling out his physique. Further, he wouldn't have to spend money like a restaurant date, because he brought sandwiches and drinks in a cooler. He'd only have to pay $5 for the parking. But what he was really looking forward to was the conversation, because this was one particular strength he had on his dates. Whenever it was an intimate one-on-one setting, he could captivate a woman with his stories and the deep questions he could get them to answer. After a few of these, he'd be able to seal the deal with making it an official relationship. Finally, he was also hoping for a moment where they'd play in the waves and one would thrust her back on top of him with a great splash, so he could get as close as he dreamed of to her beautiful body. The actual progression of events on this date went nothing like that. Instead, upon arrival at the beach, Jonah saw Christina was wearing a sundress, but instead of a bikini under it, she wore a regular bra. She even had makeup on, and he wondered who would wear makeup to go to the beach. All the while, she was complaining about how hot it was outside. Trying to stay positive and keeping a smile on his face, he took her hand in the parking lot and tried leading her to the sands of the beach, but she stopped. "Where do you think you're taking me, sir?" she asked. Confused, he said, "We're going to the beach, aren't we?" "We're already at the beach," she replied. "But we're not on it," he said. "Oh, honey, I don't go to the beach when it's this hot out," she said. "But I asked you if you wanted to go, and you said yes," he stammered with further confusion. "Yeah, I like walking around the beach area and checking out the stores along the side of it, and I figured we could find a nice restaurant to have lunch at too," she said. And with that, Jonah's confidence sunk. Either the date was going to be over, and he'd likely never have another chance again with this girl that he was very attracted to, or he'd try to continue while reeking of disappointment because the day wouldn't be going as planned, and the pleasant movie he had in his head all week in anticipation of this day would never come to life. He went with the second option, fearful for the belief that he had limited options with women. Throughout the rest of the day, his disappointment showed on his face, and Christina could feel it coming off of him like heat. His speech was different, carrying the hint of feeling let down, but submissively taking it. His demeanor was like that of a kid that found out his father wouldn't be attending his birthday party. Supposed to be happy, but deep down, he was sulking. And he now had to spend money on the date, which was more disappointing because he thought Christina was the kind of girl that wouldn't use him as a meal ticket. He was even more displeased by her subtle jab at him when she told him that he should have specified what he meant by going to the beach, because he was quite certain that if he asked anyone else if they wanted to go to the beach, they'd know what he meant. Being taken totally by surprise, his date was ruined, and his feelings caused by the ruin leaked through his behaviors, which turned Christina off entirely. After that date, which she ended early, claiming one of her friends sent her a text stating that they desperately needed her, she ghosted on him. The lesson here is that even the things that you feel you can be 100% certain about, do not take them for granted. Expect things to go wrong. Even something as simple as her not understanding what kind of date you're looking to have. If Jonah's expectations for the date were to just see her, have a good conversation, and find out if, in fact, he really does like her for more than just her looks, anything else at all that would have occurred on the date would have been icing on the cake. Sure, Christina was totally out of line thinking that an invite to the beach meant something other than actually getting on the beach, laying on some towels and soaking up the sun. But this is not the only example of this behavior from women, or the most extreme. Many guys report that they've set up dates, the girls agreed to them, but when they try to be romantic with the girl on the dates, they're turned down with the phrase, I didn't know you felt that way about me. I'm sorry. I just don't see you that way. Expect the worst, like this, to happen. This is not to say expect this to happen because it definitely will. This is simply to encourage you not to be hoping for a particular outcome. Having an indifference to the outcome of a date will make you irresistible on it. So before each date, imagine the worst case scenario possible and premeditate how you'll feel and handle the situation. The inner voice. Throughout the entire unpleasantry of the ruined date, Jonah's inner voice picked up a megaphone and blasted it in his ear. It kept saying things to him like, "Why does this keep happening to me? Why can't things go right for once?" And after she ghosted on him, it continued its chorus saying, "There you go again. Ghosted as usual. When am I going to learn? I guess I really am unlovable. No wonder girls don't want to talk to me. I'm just not worthy." There is no bully more vicious and heartless than the inner voice in all our heads. You're just not good enough for her. You're too fat, too awkward, too ugly. Your job is a loser's job. Your car's a piece of shit and your dick is too small. It is also a master of coming up with excuses. Don't go talk to that girl. She won't like you. She probably has a boyfriend. And you know what? She looks like a bitch. It's a cautious saboteur. Don't go any further with her. She'll get creeped out. Don't tell her how you really feel about her. She'll never want to talk to you again. When this inner voice arises, imagine the following scene from your head. A courtroom drama. It's rare to find one of these that's not dramatic and thrilling. A particular good one is A Few Good Men. The iconic clash between Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise is one for film history. Imagine the same setting in your head when your negative inner voice spats off at you. Picture it as Jack Nicholson on the witness stand. But to your defense is Tom Cruise, as he is the younger, more charismatic of the two. He crosses the inner voice with penetrating questions that will surely make him fold. The inner voice says, "You're just unlovable. It must be the case." Your defense says, "Why must what you say to my client be so?" Your inner voice says, "It just has to be. Look at the girls that have ghosted on him." Your defense says, "He's had some bad luck with a few girls that have no brains and bad taste. But who says it must be so?" Your inner voice says, "I say so." Your defense says, "And on what authority? Is there any evidence that what you tell my client must be so?" Your inner voice says, "The evidence is all the flaking and ghosting happening to him." Your defense says, "Again, bad luck with bad girls. There are alternative ways of viewing each of these situations. There are rational thoughts that can substitute for these irrational ones. What other evidence do you have? Your inner voice says, you want answers? Your defense says, I want the truth. Your inner voice says, you can't handle the truth. Your defense says, you can't tell the truth. Notice that the inner voice starts off using the word must. This word can be a deadly poison to the mind because it insists that there simply is no alternative. Musts will make it impossible to accept reality. Phrases like, I must do well. They must treat me with respect. Life must always be pleasant. The girls must like me. All of these musts leave little room for anything else to occur and offer up no flexibility. Dr. Albert Ellis calls this line of thinking masturbation. You have no choice in the matter of what thought pops into your head, but you do get to choose how you react to these thoughts. Negative self-talk is present in every person, but entertaining the thoughts without disputing them only makes them more powerful. The social and emotional education you were raised with was likely inadequate to conquer this inner voice, because said education was passed down to you by a small group of people that had a similar mind, and likely they didn't know how to conquer their own inner voice. While ideally it should have been started as early as possible, the process of social and emotional education can be started at any time, and it begins with addressing the absolute and unconditional musts. Like society's imperatives, these are passed down to you by your most trusted advisors during the most impressionable ages. Parents, teachers, pastors, mentors, etc. Only repeated experience from within the social environment will be able to override the faulty programming they gave you. When these agreements are deeply considered, analytically peeled apart, and penetrated, it becomes easy to see them for what they really are. Bullshit. Unrealistic hopes. Things that we'd prefer but surely can't go through life expecting. Otherwise, it will only lead to disappointment. The bullshit beliefs are everyone must agree with me. The approval of others is a must. I'm not worth a shit until someone loves me. I mean nothing to this world until someone says otherwise. I will only succeed if I am great. When I fail, it means I'm nothing but shit. People must put forth their best efforts to please me and get along with me. If they don't, then they must be my enemies and their whole existence is damnable. What is true to me must be true to everyone. Repetition of these statements, day in and out, by the inner voice creates a false reality where you believe that every event you encounter must unfold in a certain familiar way. Like Jonah at the beach, your discomfort to variation grows and the ability to be content with what comes about by the reign of randomness dies a painful death. Therefore, you must remove the absolute demand from your inner voice. These include words like should, must, and have to. Instead, recognize that people will behave however they choose, even when we believe they should not. Newly created mindsets can liberate you from the shackles of the inner voice and its masturbation. It was written before that no one and nothing can make you feel any way at all because only you can control what you think. Here are new thoughts for you to load into your mind, like ammo into a rifle. I would like to be respected. If I am not, I can still have a good life. Permission from others is not needed for it. I would like to have affection. If I don't get it, I can still have value as a person. Permission from others is not needed. I don't like to be criticized and corrected. If I am, I can take it. Permission from others is not needed. I like to succeed when I put my effort into something, but it's not a constant condition for my life to be happy. I would like validation from others, but I can live a good life still without it. I would like girls to open up and be receptive to me, but they don't have to be for me to be happy. There are far too many of them to waste time on a few. This can be one of the most difficult things you do in this journey. Give up past beliefs. The mind has found comfort in those beliefs and senses danger without them. Imagine the following scenario. You just won an all-expense-paid vacation to, wait for it, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. The itinerary for the trip includes touring cornfields, hay rides, milking cows at the crack of dawn. Sounds fun, right? Of course not. But suppose someone offered to pay you $10,000 for your ticket and place on the trip. The trip itself entirely couldn't cost more than $1,500. Why would this guy want to drop $10,000 on it? You You guess there must be something more to the trip than what the itinerary says, like naked flight attendants with unlimited blowjobs at the hotel you'll be staying at? We think there's something valuable to it now and are hesitant to take the offer. The mind works in the exact same way, just like giving up clothes you haven't worn for years. You could easily donate them. There are people probably in more need of them than you, but you fear running into a situation someday in the future where you'll wish you still had them. The reality is, after giving them up, you won't miss them at all. You'll forget that you even had them. These past beliefs are shitty beliefs and can be dropped like unnecessary weight. Now also anticipate that the inner voice will do all it can to make new ones take their place. Prepare yourself for that. Just because it never shuts up doesn't mean you have to listen. Recognize the inner voice for what it is. It's just doing its thing. Like an annoying little 7-year-old. A 7-year-old can say some pretty nasty things, but does anyone ever take them seriously? Of course not. Most of the time, the best response for them is, "Thank you for sharing. Now, go to your room." Treat the inner voice with the exact same manner, and say it as condescendingly as possible. These past beliefs are doing you no good, but like that trip to Iowa that someone's willing to pay so much for, you're clinging to them because you believe that there is something valuable about them. But had you stayed on that trip to Iowa, you'd be just as bored and dissatisfied with life.
Thank you for listening to this free sample of the book, Never Ghosted Again, The Art of Being Irresistible, by Cairo Copeland. If you enjoyed it and want to hear or read the rest, or want to listen to it free of ads, visit reinventideal.com/ghosted. The book is available on Kindle, paperback, and Audible at reinventideal.com/ghosted.